So we're on the log screen here. We can see we have 60,000 logs in the past few minutes. And we can see a pretty normal flow here. What we'll do is we'll focus on just the error and the critical logs. This is going to filter all the logs down for just the errors. Now I'm down to 746, that's good. And I can see there's a spike here happened. So there's a pretty low flow here, there's a spike and it lowers down. So let's say this is an interesting area. So I've zoomed in, by the way, on that metric, and it's given me all the logs in that time period as well. So this is a really powerful way of exploring your data from multiple angles. You can see now that I have 171 logs, which is just too many really to explore by hand. It will take a long time. But what you can do is you can jump over to the templates view instead, because there are only 13 templates. So a template is a given log document. It's similar logs, similar log structures with similar message fields as well. So you can see here that all of these logs have all these different values on them, and the message field is very similar as well. So this is the Loggregation UI. We'll go through some of the features now. On the left hand side you can see the number of occurrences. So when you click on this, you'll see that you see the normal flow. So this is the number of expected occurrences that happened, and the number of actual occurrences. So actually we're a little bit above what we would normally expect. We normally expect 12, at this point we're getting 18, here 9 and 14. So there's an elevated rate of this particular error. You can also see the ratio, so this accounts for 20% of the logs in the time frame that you've selected. Then you can see the document itself. In this document here you can see some values. So these actually look like the values themselves, but they aren't. These are in fact the values that these are the most common values. These are just placeholders. So for example, if I select this, I can see that there is a US East 2A there. If I select a different value, for example, if I look for a session ID or a namespace UID maybe, you'll see that each of these values can be explored, and we can look at the different values that exist within them. So we'll pick some different templates here, and you can see we've got different fields and different values. This is kind of cool. So every request has its own unique ID. So even though a request ID appears as this singular value here, when you select it, you see all of the different values that appear here. Super powerful, and what this means is that you can explore the variance within your logs. Same thing with trace IDs as well, you'll see a different value there. However, if you pick, for example, cities, you'll see that where they're not unique, you can start to see the grouping. So for these errors, for example, Dallas, Denver, and Upper Holloway appear quite often, and Urbana and Singapore, they don't appear very often. This is a really powerful way of saying, okay, maybe this is skewed towards a certain geographical location. This value, by the way, is actually part of our geolocational enrichment. You can see the error message here. So you can see there's only one error message. That's interesting. So there's only one root cause triggering this particular template. So when you see these values here, just remember they aren't fixed values. They are placeholders, and when you click on them, you can explore the different values there. Likewise, in this message field here, you'll see that some parts of it are white and some parts of it are green. This indicates that the white parts are constant. So across all the logs, these white parts of the message field are constant. The green parts change every single time. So you can see this is relatively consistent, but there are different, so because of the time frame, there's only one value, but if we expand the time frame, we'll see different values. Likewise, if we select a request ID or a session ID, we'll see that it's different. So for the session ID, for example, we can see lots of requests grouped into a single session, so 6 there. So that might give us some indication about whether, if there were lots and lots of requests in a session, is this an error to do with lots and lots of, to do with busy sessions where there's lots of activity. This is where Loggregation is really, really powerful. So remember that Loggregation will break down the values in your structured data and in your unstructured message field if it's present as well. And it uses these values to cluster your logs together. So if you have, for example, 2 logs that look very similar, they have lots of the same metadata, but a completely different message field, they will be 2 separate templates. It's important to recognize that. So we've looked at the ratio, the occurrences, we've looked at the actual values in the log and in the message field. What we can also look at over here is the first seen column. So what this will tell you is the first time Coralogix saw this error. And this is really powerful because what it means is that you have, this is quite an old error. So this came from the 10th of November 2022. So this error has been around for a few months, but it's only just started to increase now. So there's probably something going on there. There's been some change in behavior, because you remember from our occurrences tab, we could see that we were actually moving above the expected flow. Here at least. You see it jumps right down here. So maybe this average is actually pretty even. So super powerful, and that's what that first scene's all about, is letting you know, what's the first time I saw this error? Is this a constant background error? Is this something I need to be concerned with? Likewise, if you decide that this error or this template is something that you really want to investigate, you can click this magnifying glass right here. And what this will do is it will go back to your logs and it will zoom in on just that error template. So you remember we had like 150 logs? We've gone to templates, we've seen our most common error, and we've jumped back, and now we only have 35 to deal with. So you can see how we've gone from thousands of logs all the way down to 35 logs very, very quickly. I clicked like 3 or 4 times to make that happen. So this is the power of Loggregation. It helps you to focus in on what really, really matters in your data.